Welcome to the Melchizedek Cloister, Tangible Structure of the Soul, Accelerated Biospiritual Evolution Program, an application of chelantic morphogenetic science, the science of light, sound, the subconscious symbol codes, and the base codes of matter, the science of consciousness and creation. You are listening to lecture tape number 3, Anchoring the Eighth Dimensional Monad Identity, Connecting to the God Self. All materials copyrighted 1999 by Anna Hayes Gruber. In this lecture, we will discuss the following topics: the seed of consciousness, the stream of consciousness, geomancies and fire letters, individuation from God, the law of one, the spark of the living flame, thyroid shield of Orion, reconnecting to the seed of consciousness, the God Self, and the personal connection to God. Every person, as an individual identity, has an original point of origin, the point of separation and individuation from the eternal force, or God. This point of individuation exists beyond the contours of space, time, and matter, and dimensional structure, beyond the systems of the time matrix, and it represents the seed of consciousness out of which all incarnations and manifestations in time emerge. The seed of consciousness retains the integrity of its design within the eternal force, which we call the Unicide, the mind of God, or the God Source. Once individuation of the seed of consciousness occurs through the directed intention of the mind of God, the newly formed identity enters the constructs of the time matrix, itself a manifestation of the God mind. The newly individuated identity enters the time matrix from its original seed of consciousness upon an energetic projection that can be considered to be a stream of consciousness. The stream of consciousness represents a specific signature in energy, electrotonal units of consciousness called particuli, that retains the original design of the identity as set within the seed of consciousness. The original design of the individuated identity exists as specific constructs of fixed points of frequency, sound vibrations, that form units of light, which are standing scalar wave patterns. The scalar waveforms composing the stream of consciousness are referred to as geomancies and fire letters. Geomancies and fire letters are specific patterns of conscious scalar standing waves that give consciousness its individuated form in time. Geomancies and fire letters are the building blocks the God mind uses as its processes of creation. Geomancies are composite groupings of fire letters. Fire letters are composite groupings of standing scalar wave patterns that are built upon fixed vibrations of sound. The stream of consciousness can thus be viewed as a fixed beam of conscious light-sound energy composed of geomancies, fire letters, and standing scalar waves, through which the creative pulse of the God mind perpetually spirals its consciousness into individuation and manifest form. When the stream of consciousness enters into the dimensional structures of the time matrix, which itself is a standing scalar wave field built upon fixed points of sound vibration, its original arrangement of fire letters, or scalar wave composite forms, begins to change. The original stream of consciousness and fire letter arrangement breaks itself down, fragmenting its consciousness throughout the dimensional scale, forming new forms of individuation, The new forms, imbued with the conscious creative thrust of the original stream of consciousness and seed of consciousness, continue to create new specializations of consciousness and new forms through which consciousness manifests. This is called stair-step creation. The process of stair-step creation can be viewed as the singular beam of light sound, the stream of consciousness, holographically refracting within the scalar fields of the time matrix, splitting itself into multiple beams, each imbued with portions of these qualities, attributes, fire letters, and consciousness that were contained within the original beam or stream of consciousness. Each new beam of light sound consciousness that is formed through the splitting of the original stream of consciousness retains part of the fire letter scalar wave design of the original stream of consciousness and creates new, smaller streams of consciousness that manifest as further differentiated, individuated identities and manifest forms. Through this process of scalar wave splitting and refraction, the blueprints, or morphogenetic fields, for conscious life forms are created in time. In relation to the human form, which itself exists as a multidimensional scalar wave construction, a living morphogenetic field, the structure of dimensionalized consciousness takes the form of the 15-dimensional identity. The rishi of dimensions 15 through 13, the avatar of dimensions 12 through 10, the oversoul of dimensions 9 through 7, the soul of dimensions 6 through 4, and the incarnate of dimensions 3 through 1. Each level of this multidimensional identity represents a progressively individuated fragment of the original stream of consciousness. These levels of individuation are formed as consciousness spirals its way outward through the stream of consciousness from the seed of consciousness into dimensionalization. The various structures of multidimensional human consciousness exist as forms of sentient awareness, identities, possessing the attributes of form characteristic to the dimensional levels within which they appear. All, in truth, are mental constructs, thought forms, morphogenetic fields within the eternal God-mind. Each of these conscious identity levels are unique unto themselves, yet simultaneously all are connected to each other and the original stream of consciousness through their individual portions of the fire letters scalar wave patterns contained within the design of the original stream of consciousness and the seed of consciousness. All identities, including those portions physically incarnate within earthly human form, are ultimately connected to the original seed of consciousness via the dimensionalized stream of consciousness through which they were collectively created. The reality of evolution is the process by which the smallest fragments of individuated identity, those that have spiraled into the dimensionalized systems of the time matrix, progressively remerge with their original parts. Through this reintegration of identity, the individuated consciousness progressively expands back into its original wholeness, rebuilding the original stream of consciousness upon which it entered dimensionalization. This is achieved by reassembling the fire letters scalar wave patterns of the original seed of consciousness. As identity progressively expands to reintegrate its dimensionalized parts, its manifest form progressively changes from the dense matter forms of the lower dimensional fields to the pure scalar wave radiation forms of the highest dimensions. When the original identity has been reassembled, the sentient consciousness then expands beyond the time matrix, returning to its original form as the sentient seed of consciousness, existing in co-creative at-one-ment with the God Source. This state of being is known as ascended mastery. The clear-cut path of evolution is simply the rebuilding of the original fire letter scalar wave design of the original seed and stream of consciousness. Through this process, the consciousness traverses backward, spiraling through the original beam of light sound upon which it entered dimensionalization. Then it re-expands into its original form of the seed of consciousness. This clear-cut evolutionary path, which is the product of stair-step creation, is known as the path of grace, the path of the middle pillar, the path of the law of one. It is the path of ascension. It is the path of freedom from entrapment within the confines of space, time, and matter. Each time a consciousness is sent forth into the time matrix, breaking itself down into dimensionalized individuated identities, it then re-evolves through reassembling its parts to attain freedom from the time matrix and the experiential realities it encountered through its journeys in time. Its experiences in time further add to the contents of the original seed of consciousness. The expanded seed of consciousness then sends forth a new stream of consciousness through which a new expanded design of identity individuation is cast into the time matrix for evolution. The processes of creation and evolution are eternal. The experience of each manifest expression adds to and expands the overall content of the whole, God Source, yet at the same time the original pattern of the whole remains indelibly, eternally intact. The eternal force, the heart-mind of God, is an unquantifiable construct of energy, consciousness, cognition, and identity. Pure, sentient, creative force. Though this force perpetually expands through new manifestations of itself, it too remains perpetually the same, for the perpetual expansion of creation is balanced eternally by a reciprocal contraction, the eternal stillness, the great void. The force contains within itself, as a natural attribute of its being, a balance between the stillness and motion, expansion, contraction, order and chaos, darkness and light, creation and the void within which creation takes place. Together, these attributes represent the eternal state of isness, without beginning or end, that is the beingness of God. Through this eternal beingness, the cosmos is kept in perpetual balance, eternal stillness, eternal motion, unending creation. In the process of perpetual evolution, particularly in relation to human consciousness, the intended path held within the seed of consciousness is the reintegration of identity for its eventual return to at-one-ment and co-creatorship with God Source. This process works well in the overall scheme of things, but in terms of individual evolution, the evolutionary process can provide quite a challenge. Once the original seed of consciousness has cast its stream of consciousness into the time matrix, the fire-letter scalar wave design of the original stream of consciousness frequently breaks down or becomes distorted through its interaction with the dimensionalized reality fields. In terms of human consciousness, this occurs because the seed of consciousness for the human form is imbued with free creative will. Identities in time have the power of choice and the power of creation within the boundaries of the seed of consciousness. The individual identities in time have the ability to refuse or accept the impulse for evolution as set by the seed of consciousness. Through free will, new creations can be experienced by the individual, which ultimately add to the experience of the whole, but free will can also create a dilemma for the identity in time. Through its experience in dimensionalized consciousness, the identity frequently makes choices that result in the distortion of its fire-letter scalar wave patterns through which it is connected to the original stream of consciousness. Distortion of an identity's original fire-letter design, which manifests within the morphogenetic field and also within the genetic code of the identity's physical body, disables the identity's natural ability to reintegrate with the fire-letter patterns of the original stream of consciousness. When this occurs, literal energetic breaks appear within the multidimensional identity structure, breaking the stream of consciousness which tethers the in-time identity to its seat of consciousness within the God mind. If an identity is severed from its original stream of consciousness, that identity can no longer draw life force substance directly from the God source, for this is done through the identity's connection to the seat of consciousness. The identity becomes finite in nature, trapped in time, perpetuating its existence through drawing life force indirectly from other life forms that still possess a connection to their seat of consciousness. Eventually, such finite identities lose their ability to hold the original fire-letter design of their own individuation and fragment further in time, ultimately becoming undifferentiated units of consciousness within the energetic structures of the dimensional fields. This is the process of de-evolution, and though it is a natural part of the intrinsic dynamics of the creative balance, it is the antithesis of the original intention that was set by the God mind for the evolution of the human race. No being is ever separated from God's source, for all energy is a manifestation of the units of the consciousness of God, and all manifestation takes place within the confines of the God mind. The difference between evolution and de-evolution then becomes one of the experience or non-experience of God, or cognition of the awareness of God. The path of de-evolution leads to fragmentation and non-differentiation of identity, a loss of the cognition of the awareness of God, while still remaining as unknowing, unordered consciousness within God. The path of evolution leads to progressive and perpetual expansion of identity into cognition of the awareness of God, a conscious reintegration with the totality of the all, through which identity retains its original design as a sentient, knowing, co-creative force. For human incarnates, the process of evolution is the process of progressive integration of the original stream of consciousness upon which one entered time. Multidimensional evolution of human identity is achieved by the progressive accretion, or drawing into the morphogenetic field, and reassembly of the fire letters and scalar wave patterns of the seed of consciousness. If the stream of consciousness has been broken or distorted at any level of the 15-dimensional human identity, the identity will be trapped in time, unable to reintegrate with the seed of consciousness until the fire letters of the stream of consciousness are restored. In simple terms, the way out of the time matrix and back to God's source at one-ment is to follow and reintegrate the stream of consciousness upon which one entered the time matrix. This is the path of ascension. Dimensional ascension is the purpose for and process of evolution. The seed of consciousness eternally held within God's source is the key to reassembly of the stream of consciousness, for the seed holds the original pattern of identity individuation, the original fire-letter scalar wave design that birthed the stream of consciousness into manifestation. Identities in the time matrix, regardless of the amount of distortion in their connection to the original stream of consciousness, distortions which manifest within the DNA as well as within the morphogenetic field, possess at least one minute fragment of the original seed of consciousness, one fragment of the original fire-letter scalar wave design that originally connected them to God's source. This fragment of the original seed is called the spark of the living flame, and it contains within it the potential to regenerate the original fire-ladder design of the seed. Regeneration of the identity's connection to the stream and seed of consciousness is not a simple process that happens overnight. In fact, this process can take many incarnational cycles and cycles of manifestation in the time matrix to complete. But reconstituting the identity's connection to its original stream of consciousness through regenerating the original fire letters, scalar wave patterns, is well worth the effort. This process holds the promise of fulfillment for the identity's evolutionary destiny, a return to its original splendor as a sentient co-creative force, an eternal seed of consciousness within the God mind. The pinnacle of human evolution is the return of the individual identity to its original innocence, as a seed of ever-expanding consciousness within the heart-mind of the God Force. The key to human evolution is the spark of the living flame, the intrinsic, minute, fire-letter scalar wave pattern that connects the individual to its original stream and seed of consciousness. The spark of the living flame exists within the human bioenergetic field structure as a dormant fire-letter scalar wave pattern. When activated, the spark opens new chakra centers in the body and allows new frequency patterns to enter the morphogenetic field and DNA. Through activation of the spark of the living flame, the process of reconstructing the connection to the original stream of consciousness and integrating multidimensional identity is set in motion within the human embodiment. The spark of the living flame, which connects the human to the seed of consciousness beyond time, is composed of the fire-letter scalar wave and tonal patterns of the 8th dimension. In the human body and morphogenetic field, this spark exists as a minute crystallization of radiation located between the 4th and 5th chakras within the thyroid gland. The spark of the living flame can be brought back into activation through specific techniques of chelantic morphogenetic science. The spark of the living flame is known as the Shield of Orion, the Gaian Shield. Activation of the Shield of Orion begins the activation of the 8th chakra within the body and imprints the morphogenetic field with the fire-letter design of the 8th DNA strand in the silicate matrix gene code. This process begins activation of other dormant gene codes and bioenergetic structures within the human body and consciousness. Through activation of the Shield of Orion, the individual's connection to the original stream of consciousness can begin to reassemble within the embodied human consciousness, and the natural evolutionary process of multidimensional identity integration, the path of ascension, can be set back on course. The following chelantic science exercise will begin the process of activating the Shield of Orion, the spark of the living flame, within the physical body, DNA, and embodied human consciousness. Activation of the Shield of Orion sets in motion the integration of the 8th dimensional aspect of identity, the monad, the center of the oversoul identity. It is a process called anchoring the monad. Anchoring the monad, awakening the spark of the living flame, will imbue the human morphogenetic field with the correct fire-letter scalar wave and tonal patterns of the original stream of consciousness, bringing into the DNA the imprint for the 8th strand of the 12-strand silicate matrix gene code. This will begin activating 8th dimensional frequencies within the morphogenetic field. The 8th DNA strand will not activate within the manifest human gene code until strands 7 and below have fully activated, but the 8th dimensional frequencies of the Shield Orion will stimulate into activation and progressively reorder the fire-letter scalar wave patterns of the dimensional identity levels and DNA strands below, setting in motion the process of rebuilding the connection to the original stream of consciousness. Through activating the Gaian Shield of Orion, an individual incarnate can begin rebuilding its direct connection to the seed of consciousness, its original point of creation and individuation, held eternally within the God Source. The original seed of consciousness is known as the God Self, or the Eckhart identity, which exists beyond time and dimensionalization within the ecstatic level of the energy matrix. The God Self is the individual's indelible connection to God, through which sentient cognition of the awareness of God can flow. Through the progressive embodiment of the God Self, identity reclaims its at-one-ment and co-creatorship with the God Source, evolving through dimensional ascension beyond the confines of space, time, matter, and dimensionality into ascended mastery. Anchoring the 8th dimensional monad is one way to expedite this process. Using the Anchoring the 5th Dimensional Archetype exercise on Tape 2 for 3 to 6 months prior to using the following Anchoring the 8th Dimensional Monad exercise is recommended, but not essential. The tapes within this series are complementary, each to the other, Each exercise is geared toward developing specific aspects of the biospiritual evolution. Used alone or together, in sequence or at random, the exercises will actively facilitate the process of expanding personal awareness, integrating higher dimensional aspects of identity, activating dormant DNA strands, and the natural process of biospiritual evolution. The optical thyroid solar activation. Symbol codes used in this exercise will be the 8th dimensional geomancy control code, the gold ZIT double forward slanting lightning bolt sign, and the 12th dimensional geomancy control code, the white Merkaba star, or six-pointed Star of David. Begin this meditation either out of doors where you can have a clear view of the sun, or imagine the image of the sun above you as if you were looking at the sun. It is best to use the true sun for this exercise so you may capture the needed frequencies from the solar light spectra. Sit comfortably in a room where you will not be disturbed during this exercise, or out of doors in a private location. Loosen any clothing that may distract you from relaxing during the process of this exercise. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Then clearly visualize the symbol of the ZIT, forward slanting lightning bolts, in a pale yellow color, surrounded by the Merkaba star, six-pointed Star of David, in white, positioned in the center of your forehead between the brows at the 6th chakra. Holding the image of the symbol in mind, imagine the symbol filling with light and energy as you inhale the 4th breath. As you exhale the 4th breath, push the symbol from your 6th chakra toward the sun. Imagine the symbol entering the sun, picking up its light spectrum frequency coding. Breathe a few relaxed breaths while imagining the symbol filling with solar frequency until you feel a stopping sensation, as if the symbol is full and can hold no more energy. After sensing the stop, open your eyes and look briefly into the sun while taking a slow, long, deep inhale breath, drawing the loaded symbol back towards you. As you draw the symbol towards you with the inhale breath, imagine that it has replicated into 2 duplicate symbol images, each moving towards you on a separate ray of light from the sun. At the completion of the inhale, visualize the duplicate symbol codes completing their journey, one symbol coming to rest above the throat region at the thyroid gland, in the 8th chakra between chakras 4 and 5, and the other symbol coming to rest just above the skin over your 6th chakra between the brows. Exhale, then take a few short, gentle breaths while feeling the energy reality of the symbols over the thyroid and the brows. Next, take a long, slow inhale while visualizing the 2 duplicate symbols simultaneously entering into the body, the brow symbol entering the 6th chakra, moving into the pineal and the brain center, and the thyroid symbol entering into the thyroid gland through the 8th chakra. On the exhale breath, imagine the pineal symbol moving downward into the thyroid gland. Stop moving the symbol at the thyroid gland and inhale. On the exhale breath, re-merge the two duplicate symbols at the thyroid gland into one symbol. The Zit lightning bolts in pale gold, surrounded by the Merkaba star in white. As you exhale, move the singular symbol down from the thyroid to the navel. Stop moving the symbol at the navel and inhale. On the exhale breath, move the symbol down to the second Kathara sphere in front of the vaginal wall for women and the prostrate for men. Stop moving the symbol at the second Kathara sphere and inhale. On the exhale breath, divide the symbol into two again and forcefully push the duplicate symbols downward inside the legs and out the small chakras at the soles of the feet. Continue the exhale and re-merge the duplicate symbols into one symbol image and continue to push the symbol downward through the 12th chakra, 6 inches below the feet, and into the 13th chakra at the Earth's core. Stop moving the symbol at the Earth's core and inhale. Imagining the symbol at the Earth's core, take 7 long, deep, slow breaths, allowing the symbol to absorb the frequencies from Earth's core. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And exhale. After the 7 breaths, reverse the vertical downward movement on the exhale to a vertical upward movement on the inhale, stopping the symbol movement to exhale rather than to inhale. Inhale and move the symbol upward from the Earth's core through the 12th chakra, then directly into the first base chakra between the legs and into the second Kathara sphere in the vagina in women and the prostrate in men. Stop the symbol movement at the second Kathara sphere and exhale. Inhale and move the symbol upward from the second Kathara sphere to the 5th Kathara sphere at the navel. Stop the symbol movement at the navel and exhale. Inhale and move the symbol upward from the navel through the 8th chakra to the thyroid gland. Stop the symbol movement at the thyroid and exhale. Take a few relaxed breaths at the thyroid before moving the symbol again. Inhale and move the symbol upward from the thyroid gland into the 11th Kathara sphere in the center of the brain at the pineal gland. Stop the symbol movement at the pineal gland and exhale. Keeping the image of the symbol in mind at the pineal gland, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Inhale, then hold the inhale breath for a count of 3. Exhale slowly Then hold the exhale with lungs emptied for a count of 3. Inhale, hold for a 3 count. Exhale, hold for a 3 count. Inhale, hold for 3, and exhale, hold for 3. On the next inhale, imagine the breath filling the symbol at the pineal gland with pale gold light energy. Then exhale forcefully and imagine the symbol bursting out from the pineal on a horizontal plane, surrounding your head like a halo. Inhale and imagine you are drawing power from the sun to energize the symbol halo around your head. Exhale and push the energy in the form of pale gold light through the pineal and outward into the halo. Imagine the halo beginning to glow with pale gold light. Inhale once more and exhale forcefully through the pineal into the halo, and observe as the halo replicates, forming a double halo around your head. Breathe gently and observe the 2 halos begin to spin slowly around your head, one toward the left, one toward the right. Breathe for a few moments with your attention observing the double symbol halo around your head, spinning faster and faster until you become tired or can no longer follow the spinning movement. The spinning draws 8th dimensional frequency into your morphogenetic field, which will soon be used to spark the Orion shield, the spark of the living flame, within the thyroid gland. When the morphogenetic field has drawn in as much 8th dimensional frequency as it can presently hold, you will grow tired or lose track of the spinning motion of the halos. When you have lost track of the spinning of the halos or have grown tired, inhale slowly, drawing the halos back into the pineal, where they will now appear as a tiny spark of pale gold light. Exhale and move the pale gold spark downward to the thyroid gland. Stop the spark movement at the thyroid and inhale. Then exhale forcefully and imagine the pale gold spark exploding, filling the entire thyroid with pale gold energy light. Breathe gently for a few moments, each breath making the pale gold thyroid gland grow brighter and brighter, and observe that in this pale gold light you can now see a tiny, clear crystal sphere at the center of the thyroid gland. This sphere is the spark of the living flame, the shield of Orion, the minute scalar wave pattern that connects you to your original stream of consciousness and your seat of consciousness as held within God Source. This transparent sphere is now activated within the thyroid and will begin to prepare your body and consciousness for acceleration and integration of your higher dimensional identity and activation of the dormant strands of the silicate matrix 12-strand DNA pattern. This sphere represents the consciousness of your God Self, the part of your identity that has never left its station of at-one-ment with God. Hold the image of the transparent sphere within your mind and feel the reality of its consciousness as you breathe slowly. This is part of your consciousness that you will one day fully embody when you become an ascended master through evolving upward in the 15-dimensional scale until you are able to leave the time matrix through the center point of the 8th dimension. Until this time, the God Self sphere will serve as a place to which you can mentally travel, placing yourself within the sphere when you need guidance, comfort, or a stronger connection to your true immortal essence. The God-Self sphere connects your consciousness to your harmonic universe 3 light-sound body, the Beta-Huva body, which is the embodied consciousness of you at the Oversoul level. The center of the Oversoul identity is the 8th dimensional monad identity. By imagining yourself in the God-Self sphere during meditations, you will develop a conscious relationship with your monad identity. The monad identity and Oversoul communicate with you via direct cognition, which comes from you linking the energy of your earthly consciousness with the energy of the stream of consciousness that flows from your Oversoul. Through the God-Self sphere, you may link with your Oversoul and receive guidance through its direct connection to God Source anytime you choose. Now, take a final slow, deep breath and open your eyes, returning your consciousness to your present moment of focus in the earthly world. Carry the memory of your God-Self sphere with you as you turn your attention to other things. From this point on, remember the God-Self sphere that you carry within and create time to explore a conscious relationship with this hidden aspect of yourself. Try to become more aware of your breathing as you go about your days, and with each breath you notice, imagine the exhale breath sends pale gold 8th dimensional energy through your thyroid gland, energizing and strengthening your connection to the God-Self identity. Call to mind the image of the God-Self sphere in the thyroid whenever you can, and begin sending it mental messages that you desire to strengthen your relationship with your eternal, immortal, true essence. Use the image of the God-Self sphere as a platform of departure in your meditations, out-of-body journeys, and prior to sleep. Imagine yourself within the God-Self sphere, connecting to the stream of consciousness of your Oversoul self. When in need of protection or healing, imagine yourself within the God-Self sphere and use your exhale breaths to push the God-Self sphere outward until its energy fully surrounds and permeates every cell of your physical body. With sincere practice of these exercises, you will create true transformation in your consciousness and in your daily life. This exercise is most effective when initially used once every 3 days, just prior to sleep or in undisturbed meditation. If used prior to sleep, train your mind to remember the image of the God-Self sphere as the first thing that enters your mind when you awaken. After 1 month of practice, the frequency of the exercise can be reduced to once every 2 weeks. Following 3 months of practice, the long version of the exercise is not necessary, but repeating it once or twice per year will be helpful in maintaining the skills you will develop through this technique. To increase the effectiveness of this exercise, it is suggested that you practice simple optical thyroid solar breathing frequently until it becomes habit. Simply inhale solar light from the atmosphere around you when you are out of doors, and mentally direct the light as pale gold energy to simultaneously enter the 6th chakra at the forehead, and the pineal gland in the center of the brain, and the 8th chakra and the thyroid gland. Hold the inhale for a 3 count, then exhale the pale gold light energy into every cell in your body. This practice also works wonders for healing and revitalization. The monad exercise can be used alone, but more rapid results will be noticed if the Anchoring the 5th dimensional archetype exercise from tape number 2 is used first. The Cathara spheres mentioned in this exercise represent the spherical crystalline control points within the morphogenetic field that follow the structure of the Cathara grid, which can be envisioned as a 12-sphere tree of life diagram. Using the simple code geomancy waveguides within the chakras and the Kathara spheres allows the operational programs within the morphogenetic core to be affected and realigned. The morphogenetic field, or crystal body, and Kathara grid represent the template of consciousness behind all matter manifestations. The crystal body is the causal element behind the perceivable reality manifestation. Using techniques of chelantic morphogenetic science for crystal body reprogramming will allow you to reverse patterns from the morphogenetic field that are causing disharmonic conditions in your life experience. Disease and disharmonic life conditions are the result of distortions within the original pattern of the morphogenetic field. The original crystal body is created through the God-Self design and manifests in a state of perfection. Realigning the personal morphogenetic field allows the body and the life circumstances to progressively return to its original perfection as expressed through embodiment of the God-Self.